What a game and what a performance. And you can see how Chelsea have maintained an incredible record against Barcelona at Stamford Bridge, winning their last five, actually making this the fifth game they have won out of the 10 games they have faced back. Chelsea's 3-0 win over Barcelona was more of a statement, a well-deserved win. And I'm not just going to talk about the red card, I'm going to talk about how dominant Chelsea were and how Chelsea actually showed levels to Barcelona. Maresca once again got his lineup right, got his tactics right, and got almost everything right in this game. His substitutions were also spot on, and his in-game management was also quite remarkable. Yamal was left silenced. He lost the battle to Marco Correa and lost the battle against Estevao Willian as the youngest, as the one of the best young players in world football. So if you're new in this channel, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe as we begin our tactical analysis. Now, it was quite interesting to see how Chelsea actually set themselves up against Barcelona. Now, the way Chelsea used to build up was quite interesting, and I just want to show you how. So, Barcelona, we know very well, press intensely high. And the way Barcelona were looking to do, as I said, was to try and force Chelsea to play the ball down the left. Why? Because they identified that Chalobah, being a right-footed centre-back, will be so inclined to play the ball in field and therefore will not be so effective. So Yamal was tasked to press Chalobah while Garcia would maintain that position. So here, Chalobah has the ball and Yamal immediately steps out to press Chalobah. Now, the main aim was to ensure that they make Chalobah so uncomfortable because he was playing in an unnatural position. So Chalobah plays the ball to Sanchez, and Sanchez in this scenario attempts to play the ball to Trevor Chalobah because the passing lane to Fofana has been closed, because that is what Barcelona actually wanted in this game. So the ball is played to Chalobah. Chalobah, being a right footer, is able to play that intricate pass in field. And look at Reece James. He's under no pressure, but once Reece James receives this ball, he wants to hasten the way the ball actually moves. So Reece James attempts to play the ball to Caicedo, and once the ball is played to Caicedo, Lopez is able to step forward. No, De Jong is able to step forward and win the ball off Moises Caicedo, because Chelsea were looking to try and play through Barcelona, and you can see how Barcelona has swamped Chelsea in that press. And here the ball is played to Ferran Torres, who I believe should have actually scored this, and this would have put Barcelona 1-0 up earlier on in the game. Now, what happened is that because Barcelona were looking to create that central overload to prevent Chelsea from playing through the center, the left-hand side in particular became an area of success for Chelsea. So Sanchez, when he got the ball, Cucurella would start high and wide, and in this case, he would constantly be the out ball for Chelsea. So Chelsea, whenever they receive the ball, they were looking to play the ball to Cucurella, who's starting in a high and wide position. And once the ball would be played to Marco Cucurella, Cucurella in this position would either attempt to play the ball in field to Fernandes or look to play the ball over the top for the runs of Alejandro Garnacho, because the main aim for Cucurella was majority of the times to ensure they play that ball over the top, especially for the runs of Garnacho. And that's why you saw in the first half Garnacho getting that space to actually make runs. It all started with the way Maresca had set up his team. Now, because of Cucurella's position, this really created a lot of problems. So sometimes you also started to see Sanchez playing balls over the top, especially towards Estevao. But the problem here was, because Sanchez was playing the ball constantly over the top, sometimes those long balls weren't quite so accurate. And sometimes Balde was able to step out and win that ball. And that allowed Barcelona to actually regain possession in the initial phases of the game. But the outball was constantly Marco Correa down the left. Now, because of this aggressive, intense highline that Barcelona kept, we started to see Flick instructing Yamal to actually stay with Cucurella and De Jong or Lopez to be the one to step out to cover Chalobah, while the other midfielder will push forward towards the pivots. And this further created more problems for Barcelona, because Caicedo now will receive the ball under pressure, knowing very well that he can turn and play the ball onto Fernandez, who was constantly in between the lines. And Fernandez will receive this ball in between the lines and immediately have players looking to make runs in behind. And we started to see Fernandez playing those balls over the top. You can see here in this scenario, Estevao has the ball. You can see the position of Enzo Fernandez, and you can see how Neto is looking to actually to attempt that last shoulder off defender kind of run. Estevao plays that ball, and now Neto is now 1v1 with the goalkeeper. He has actually have the ball in space with the pace of Pedro Neto, but Neto fails to score in that scenario. So those are the two approaches for Chelsea, going direct and looking to use Cucurella as an extra player, especially considering the position that Yamal was actually looking to occupy. Now, when Chelsea had settled possession, they were quite interesting in the way they looked to play. So Enzo will move into that right half space, while Gusto will be the one pushing into that right half space, and Estevao will will actually hold the width down the right. The reason why Maresca chose to invert Gusto over Cucurella is because of Yamal. He never wanted Cucurella to be caught high up in the pitch when Barcelona will look to counter. So Cucurella will start deeper and also offer Chelsea that left-footed centre back down the left, and Chalobah will be the one to play through the middle. So since Yamal, Lewandowski, and Ferran Torres will be touch tight on Chelsea's three centre-backs, it made it great for Chelsea now that players like Fernandes and players like Gusto will now receive the ball in between the lines. And you can actually see in this clip here, look at the position of all the Chelsea centre-backs and look at the position of their midfielders. Now here, look at the position of Enzo, as Enzo is able to wait and play a well-timed pass to Garnacho, but Garnacho actually makes that run earlier when Barcelona have created that offside trap. Now, because Chelsea were looking to build with this 3-2, we started to see Barcelona looking to commit both of their midfielders to press Chelsea's holding midfielders. But again, because Chelsea created this box, they naturally had a midfield overload over Barcelona. And because of this midfield overload against Barcelona, they constantly kept on playing balls into the half spaces, with players such as Gusto looking to receive the ball in those half space channels. And once Gusto will receive this ball, his first instinct would be to shift the ball out wide for Estevao, and that is what actually gave Estevao the opportunity to get that space. You can see Estevao there in that wide area. He's able to receive that ball in the wide area. He's able to dribble with the ball, and he's actually able to score a superb goal. It all happens because of the box midfield overload that Chelsea created against FC Barcelona, and that is what allowed players like Estevao to be actually left 1v1 against teams and against players like Chelsea. Now, it was also quite interesting to see the way Barcelona looked to try and stop players like Estevao by trying to use that aggressive high line so that they can compact that space and stop Chelsea from playing through the middle. And they actually did this with much success, because Chelsea, majority of the times when they wanted to play these balls over the top, Barcelona kept on having them offside because of the high intense line they maintained. Even when they were looking to sit in a settled possession, they still looked to maintain that high line that made the pitch so small and so difficult for Chelsea. Now, without the ball and when Barcelona were in possession, it was quite interesting the way Chelsea were looking to press them, because there's one aspect of Chelsea's play that a lot of people are not talking about, and it's the way Chelsea pressed. Chelsea pressed Barcelona in a much intelligent way, combining both zonal and man-marking system. But in particular, it was the role of Neto. Neto's main role was to stick with Araujo, and Chelsea used the same system, but this time Estevao was the one used to press Kubrasi. And now what you notice is that Chelsea, yes, they did press like Barcelona, but they were more intense in that their three midfielders will sit on Barcelona's three midfielders, while Garnacho will be quick to be on Jules Koundé. But Neto was so good in this game in that he always stopped the ball from going to Araujo and forced the ball to be actually played on the side where Kurbasi was. And once Kurbasi received the ball, Estevao will step forward and press him. But the difference between Chelsea and Barcelona is that when the ball will be played to Balde, Gusto was super impressive in the way he would step out to press Balde. So Constantly, you saw when Balde received the ball, Gusto was so quick to step out and look to cover Balde. And because Gusto was so intense in this, it made Balde either to attempt to play the ball over the top to Ferran Torres, where Fofana had covered it well, or sometimes Gusto would win this ball, play the ball to Estevao, and that would create all sorts of issues for Barcelona, especially when they were trying to build up. Down the left is when the ball was being played down the left. Neto will be super aggressive on Araujo, forcing him to play the ball to Kunde. Once Kunde will receive the ball down the left, it was Garnacho who was stepping out to cover Kunde. Why didn't Cucurella do this? Again, because of the aspect of Maresca trying to always have Cucurella on Yamal. So whenever Kunde would receive the ball and attempt to play the ball to Yamal, Cucurella was so touch tight on Yamal that he constantly won the ball off Yamal and stopped Yamal from actually having any involvement in this game. And that is what actually made Chelsea strong. So in the showdown between who is the best youngster in European football, that war might actually have been won by Estevao, as Estevao managed to put up a resounding performance in this game. He actually managed to score a fabulous goal that I don't expect a lot of players to actually be able to score. So Chelsea are currently top 8 in the Champions League. Manchester City lost, Newcastle lost, and Chelsea won one crucial match. And the focus now is, can Chelsea actually replicate this against Arsenal? And my first video on Arsenal will be out tomorrow. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.